Hey everyone, I wanted to try something new this year. Before I get to my top 10 games of 2020, I wanted to talk about my top 5 gaming fails of 2020. Every year has its highs and lows, and I think it's important to talk about some of those lows just as much as it is to talk about those highs. Obviously, these 5 things are things I found personally interesting, frustrating, and relevant. I'm sure there were a lot of other things that you could consider lows for this year, but these were the top 5 things that I cared about. Anyways, let's get into the top 5 gaming fails of 2020. At number 5, we have the controversy surrounding the Citadel. For those of you who don't know what the Citadel is, it's an indie first-person shooter that came out this year that is inspired by games like Marathon, Wolfenstein 3D, and Doom that features hand-drawn cyberpunk anime graphics, and some modern shooter mechanics like reloading and gun jamming. It's a really fun game, I rather enjoy it, and I reviewed it a while back. Check out that video if you want to hear my full and complete thoughts about the game. Anyway, this game is pretty gory, and while playing you often see the bodies of anime girls blown apart in chunky fashion. The level of gore became the topic of controversy when well-known boomer shooter YouTuber Icarus Lives reviewed the game, and included a part that he found the game disturbing and unsettling, and basically accused the game of being Guro material. For those who don't know, Guro is art that mixes sexual overtones with gore and graphic violence. It's a bit taboo, as if violent hentai isn't the norm these days. Anyways, because of Icarus Lives' comment, the developer Doe Kuramori started getting harassed by people online, being called a gore fetishist and a Guro artist. This in turn forced Doe Kuramori to issue a public statement about the game in which he said he was considering censoring the game going forward. Many people, including myself, showed support to Doe Kuramori, asking him to ignore the harassment and not censor the game. I think it's just so fucking stupid that this game was accused of fetishism in the first place. Nothing about this game, other than the main character's design, is sexual, and you don't even see the main character in-game. All of the other characters are fully clothed, oftentimes in full body armor and gas masks. Yeah, the characters are anime girls, but like, so what? It was obvious to me that the Citadel took inspiration from hyper-violent anime from the 80s and 90s like Angel Cop, Genocyber, Ghost in the Shell, Violence Jack, Wicked City, and Devilman. Those animes are dark, violent, and gory as well, often juxtaposing sexual content with violence in much worse ways than anything in the Citadel. Are they Guro too? I don't know. I never once got a sexual vibe from this game at all. Seems like projection to me. Now, I like Icarus Lives content, I watch his videos and all that, but I found it really weird that the Citadel got so much heat for gore and fetishism when Icarus Lives has reviewed outwardly sexual Doom mods like H-Doom and La Taylor Girl and never got the same negative reaction from people. I also think it's unfortunate he never really apologized to Doe Kuramori for it other than this half-assed comment on his YouTube video. Despite all that though, the game remains uncensored, which is great, and it's one of my favorite games of 2020. I recommend you check it out if you're a fan of Marathon and older anime. So this actually replaced what was going to be my number 4, because I kind of can't believe this game was released in this state. But oh man, the release of Cyberpunk 2077 was botched. It released with shoddy performance and bugs galore, some straight up game breaking. It reportedly is unplayable on the PS4 and Xbox One, which is where the game was intended to be released. I honestly can't believe it. Like, looking at footage from people, this looks worse than Fallout 76 in a lot of ways. If this was released by EA or Ubisoft or even Bethesda, it would be getting torn apart. But because CD Projekt Red released it, it gets a pass? No. Do not make excuses for this. This game should have been delayed longer, or at the very least just been released on the PS5 or Xbox Series X, because the state the game launched in is quite frankly unacceptable. The fact that they were hiding the actual performance footage and taking down videos from people who played early is really sketchy too. I didn't buy Cyberpunk yet for myself. Honestly, just going off the gameplay trailers, I wanted to see more from the game. I wasn't quite sold yet. I was 100% expecting a Bethesda-style RPG, but in a Blade Runner setting, and I'm glad I waited, because trying to play this game with all these bugs and performance issues would have pissed me off. I mean, I bought Fallout 76, and I definitely regret that purchase. I probably will get Cyberpunk down the line if and when they ever fix these bugs, but I'm glad I decided to wait. It's just sad. This is one of the biggest releases for this year for a lot of people, and it really shows that the gaming industry is kind of in bad shape. When a company who had made millions off of pre-order sales and turned to crunching to get the game done, even after delaying the game a bunch, released a broken mess of a game, and people are just like, it's okay, they'll patch it. No! Enough of that. Stop releasing broken games. I hope this game gets the pushback that it deserves, and I hope that game devs learn from this and actually take the time to make sure that their games function before they release them. At number 3, we have Epic Games. Pretty much everything about Epic Games. I guess this is kind of a carryover from last year, but man, I have lost a lot of respect and consumer goodwill towards Epic Games. I just can't support them, which is a shame because I really want to play Diabolical, but I just can't bring myself to install the Epic Store and pay for it on there. Maybe once GOG gets external store integration, I'll get Diabolical on there. I mean, I do have an Epic account from when I played Unreal Tournament, and at least the game would be tied to and launched from my GOG account, but I'm getting off track. Epic Games has kind of been a thorn in PC gamers' side for a few years now. First, by releasing their own launcher and store during the launcher wars, which really just amounts to an annoyance and inconvenience. I mean, I use Steam and GOG primarily for PC games, but I also do have Origin, Battle.net, itch.io, GameJolt installed on my computer, as well as I used to have the Bethesda launcher, but I don't really have a need for that anymore considering the new Doom ports are also now on Steam. I also used to have Uplay, but the only Ubisoft game that I own is Blood Dragon, so whatever. I also used to already have the Epic launcher before it was the Epic Games Store. Like I said, I used to play Unreal Tournament 2016. It's the other shit that they've been pulling that pisses me off and kind of turned them into a joke. And no, this has nothing to do with Fortnite either. I don't play Fortnite, I'm not huge on Battle Royales in general, and yeah, I'm salty they cancelled Unreal Tournament 2016 to focus on their development of Fortnite, but the kids and normies need something, right? So what are my issues with Epic Games then? Well, one, the anti-consumer practices. Not only were they pushing their own launcher and store to use, but the store sucked on top of it. It lacked and still lacks basic features like a shopping cart, community forum, and reviews. Even fucking itch.io has a forum. The Epic Store is the definition of bare bones. Now, Battle.net is pretty bare bones as a store as well, but even that has a forum, and at least they're only selling Blizzard and Activision games. First-party games. Epic amped up the bullshit by introducing exclusivity to PC gaming, like full-on console wars level of bullshit. Pre-ordered Metro Exodus? Were you expecting a Steam key like originally advertised? Too bad, you need the Epic launcher. Borderlands 3, Maneater, Shenmue 3, better get an Epic account. Like, yeah, the entire launcher wars really can be broken down to an annoyance and inconvenience, but no launcher was vying for third-party exclusivity. The only things exclusive to Origin are EA games. Uplay, Ubisoft. Bethesda, Steam, Valve, and then there's GOG, where CD Projekt Red just puts their games on everything. Good guy GOG, even if the Cyberpunk release was botched. But not Epic. They aren't satisfied with Epic Games being exclusive. They need your third-party games too, and this shit just felt so wrong to me. Especially because many of these games still had store pages on other launchers like Steam. So Epic essentially got free advertising for these games from other launchers due to their timed exclusivity going on. And Epic users flooded the Steam forums too for help because Epic doesn't have their own damn forums. At least all these launchers are free. Could you imagine if they charge subscriptions too, like Netflix or something? Oh god, ignore that. I don't want to give them any ideas. Once again, I get it, needing to use different launchers is really just an inconvenience, but I just don't like the idea of exclusivity like this on PC platform. I much prefer being able to launch my games from any other place. I don't know. Which leads me to number 2, security issues. With more and more people suddenly using Epic to play Fortnite and the Epic exclusive games, I started seeing more and more stories of people's accounts getting hacked and private information getting stolen. People also began reporting that the Epic launcher was reading their computer files, including Steam friends list and things of that nature, without permission from the user. This started up a huge debate over security of the Epic launcher that is still heavily debated today. The third reason is the simultaneous superiority complex and victim complex of Epic. This is probably the biggest reason why I don't like Epic anymore. I don't use Epic because I don't like their exclusivity practice, but I don't like Epic because of their asshattery. They act like they're the saviors of PC gaming, like they're an underdog company rising up to fight the evil Steam monopoly, but like, Steam isn't a monopoly. I just spent this whole section name dropping other launchers and platformers, and there are a bunch: Steam, Origin, Uplay, Itch, GOG, GameJolt, Battle.net, Bethesda, Humble, Zoom Platform, Fanatical, just to name a few. There are multiple options for devs to release their games on and players to buy games from. Steam just happens to be the biggest because they're the best. No shit, they're gonna be bigger. And Epic aren't just some small underdog company either. They're Epic Games, creator of Unreal Tournament and Gears of War. They developed the Unreal Engine that developers have been using and paying royalties for years. They used to develop under Microsoft, and they released a little game called Fortnite. They aren't a small company. They're a $10 billion company. Fuck out of here with that small company shit. And they still claim that they're trying to fight Monopoly for their slice of the pie. Okay. They took that a step further this year by releasing their own app store, which undercut Google Play and the Apple Store, breaking their terms of service, and then were surprised when Google and Apple booted them from their stores. Epic cried the Monopoly card again, and are now in a losing court battle against Epic. It's hilarious to me that they're clawing at this small company fighting big corporations angle when they are the big corporation. Tim Sweeney even went as far as to compare their legal battle to the civil rights movement. Yes, your court clash of two multi-billion-dollar companies is totally the same as minorities fighting for their rights to be treated as equals. You fucking idiot. Not only that, but they're financially backed by an actual monopoly, Tencent, which leads me into Tencent. Tencent is probably a thing you see get thrown around a lot these days. You think Disney is a scary monopoly? Look up Tencent. Tencent is a Chinese investment company. They have their pockets dipped in just about every company in tech and entertainment. They own 100% of Riot Games. They have minority stakes in companies like Ubisoft, Activision Blizzard, Platinum Games, and Bluehole, amongst many others. And they have a 40% stake in Epic Games. The company honestly scares me, and many people are worried what this means for personal security when it comes to Epic Games. Laws about privacy are different in China, and if the Chinese government says they want all of the company's data, they have no choice but to give it to them. And if their government says that Tencent needs to censor something, well, they need to listen. Epic claims that Tencent has no pull over their company, but I don't buy that. We've seen Blizzard bend over backwards and start censoring their games and players over issues like Hong Kong, and Tencent has only a 5% stake in Blizzard versus the 40% in Epic. I'm willing to bet that the mighty Tencent dollar wins out here. And this brings me to the number 2 fail. The unfortunate trend in PC gaming: kernel-level anti-cheats. This isn't necessarily new, but it's become a huge talking point this year. I was first made aware of kernel-level anti-cheats with Doom Eternal's Denuvo anti-cheat. Now, I will outright say, I'm not a computer guy. I don't understand coding or hacking. I have a very basic understanding of kernels and ring access and rootkits, but I see a lot of people discussing and worrying about anti-cheats. When Doom Eternal added Denuvo, it got such bad backlash, the game was review bombed, that id removed the anti-cheat from the game. That same week, it was discovered that Valorant has the same type of anti-cheat, and theirs stays on even if the game is turned off. It turns on at boot up and stays on until you turn your computer off. That generated some outrage back when the game first came out, but people have seemed to kind of forgotten and accepted it. Most recently, we see the same thing with Genshin Impact, whose anti-cheat also stayed on permanently until there was an outcry, so they turned it to turn off when the game turns off. But it's still there while you're playing the game. The thing about these anti-cheats is that they don't really work much better than client-based anti-cheats, as seen by the large amount of cheaters still on Valorant. But why are kernel-level anti-cheats so controversial? Well, for one, there is potential for security and performance issues. If a hacker found a way to break into one of these anti-cheats, they could potentially work their way into every computer that this anti-cheat was installed on. And since they're kernel level, they can have access to the entire computer. Are the chances of this happening very slim? Yes, but it still can happen. Riot Games even admitted that they could get into people's computers without kernel access. So why would you willingly want to give these companies access like that? Additionally, if the anti-cheat had a bad update, it could potentially brick your system or cause other hardware issues with your PC. People have already reported that Valorant's Vanguard anti-cheat has broken drivers, bricked keyboards, and caused other issues. We've seen similar issues with programs like StarForce, which was an anti-tamper program, but it was also installed at the kernel level. StarForce was really hard to remove for computers and was even known to brick people's PCs, so there is some legitimacy to that fear. Another big thing adding to this controversy are fears of the Chinese government. Companies like Riot Games and MiHoYo, who make games like Valorant and Genshin Impact, are Chinese companies, meaning, like Tencent, they need to comply with orders from the Chinese government. With these companies installing programs at the kernel level, they effectively have access to everything on your computer. Do I think that the Chinese government really cares about random people in the US's spank banks and game records? No. But I also don't even trust the US government, so why would I trust a communist foreign power? I think it's important to at least be aware of this. Now, many games use these kind of anti-cheats, even games that I play on PC like Halo and Dead by Daylight. But I still don't like the idea of accepting and normalizing programs with that much access, and I think people should at least be aware and educated about what is going on with their data, who has their data, and how much control certain companies could potentially have over your computer. And here we are, number 1, the biggest fail of 2020, Warcraft fucking Reforged. Oh my god, this was such a heartbreaking release for me. I will outright say that I'm not great at RTS games, but I sure do enjoy them. StarCraft, Age of Empires, War of the Ring, Galactic Battlegrounds, and above all, Warcraft 3. I love Warcraft 3. It's not only my favorite RTS, but one of my top 5 games ever made. I love everything about it. The graphics blew me away when it first came out. Sure, they're dated by today's standards, but the game looked great back in 2002, and the cutscenes still look great. The gameplay is super fun and addictive, and the mod support rivals that of Doom, with people delivering some amazing custom maps and game modes, even giving birth to Dota and the MOBA genre, as well as Wintermall, Line Tower Wars, and Legion TD. When I heard that Blizzard was remaking Warcraft 3, I'm not gonna lie, I was hyped. Now, I think the original Warcraft 3 holds up. I don't think it needed a remake, especially with the widescreen patch, but I thought a remake might rejuvenate the online player base, and bringing new players to custom games couldn't hurt. Plus, it was getting a fresh coat of paint, and Blizzard promised completely redone, fully animated cutscenes. Unfortunately, we got a half-assed remaster that broke parts of the game, introduced a slew of new glitches, censored dialogue, took out the ability to kill kids, had connectivity issues, removed custom campaigns, didn't update the cutscenes like Blizzard said, and most egregious of all, integrated the original Warcraft 3 into a new Reforged client that effectively eliminated the original game from existence. The Warcraft 3 player base essentially died overnight. The remake resulted in the exact opposite effect of what I hoped would happen. I refunded it the very next day. I wasn't going to wait for them to fix it with patches. I told myself I would rebuy it once they made things right, and guess what? They never fucking did. Instead, the Blizzard forums became a mess. They basically swept this all under the rug, and they've been ignoring it ever since. Thankfully, there are a couple ways to get the old experience back. You either need a disc version, which you then patch to 1.27b and then just never patch it again. This means never clicking that Battle.net button. Of course, you can't play online this way, but this is a totally fine way to play single player. If you want to play online, you need to use and download something like WC3 Connect. Basically, this installs version 1.30 of Warcraft 3 and allows you to play online via the LAN section of Warcraft 3. It's not perfect, it's not Battle.net, but at least it's not Reforged. I really can't believe how badly they fucked this game up. They remastered StarCraft just fine and integrated the original StarCraft in a way that preserved it. I don't understand the logic of doing Warcraft 3 differently. It just sucks to see a beloved game ruined like this. And that's it for the top 5 fails of 2020. Was there anything you think I should have mentioned? Any other fails? Let's talk about it down below in the comments, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss out on the actual top 10 games of 2020 coming later this week. Thanks for watching.